would say good evening. I guess it's going into early morning. It is a sad night this evening for the citizens of Cobb County, as well as the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, and for law enforcement in whole. Even more so is a night of heartache for two families from the Cobb Sheriff's Office. Two wives who has lost amazing husbands. I am saddened to report this evening that the Cobb County Sheriff's Office has lost two young, bright deputies. They were killed in the line of duty this evening while serving a warrant. These two deputies serve Cobb County with dignity and honor. Please pause with me for a second as we recognize these two lost deputies. Thank you. Next, let me thank the many law enforcement agencies who responded to our needs this evening. And they've been by our side this whole evening trying to help us get through this ordeal. And as I read these agencies in no particular order, but again, thank them all for their help this evening. The Cobb County Police Department, the City of Marietta Police Department, the City of Kennesaw Police Department, Austell Police Department, Powder Springs Police Department, the Cobb County School Board Police, Fulton County Sheriff's Office, Paulding County Sheriff's Office, the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and the Georgia State Patrol, and many others that was on the scene this evening. And behind me this evening, I do have the great pleasure to say I have some Metro Atlanta sheriffs with me this evening. And I want to acknowledge them and thank you for coming out for us this evening. We have Sheriff Melanie Maddox from DeKalb County. We have Sheriff Ron Freeman from Forsyth County. We have Sheriff Gary Gullich from Paulding County here as well. And we do also have the new director of GBI here, Mr. Michael Register, here this evening as well as my chief, Rhonda Anderson. The Cobb County Police Department, ladies and gentlemen, will be investigating this horrific incident. What I can tell you at this moment is this, and in plain terms, it's very simple. My two deputies were ambushed this evening and killed. The two suspects now that we believe are the perpetrators of this crime are currently in custody and being held at the Cobb County Police Department now for questioning. At this time, that's all I can pretty much tell you about the incident, but I will try to answer some questions if you have them at this time.
What were the warrants being served for?
Failure to appears.
For just one warrant?
Yes. Well, it's failure to appear for theft by deception.
And was the person being served the warrant a suspect in the shooting?
Was the person being served one? Mm-hmm. It's two suspects. I'm not exactly sure if that was a particular one who was actually the warrant being served on.
The names of the deputies?
We're not releasing those currently until the whole family's been notified. The family has asked us to hold off on releasing that because they want to make complete notification to their entire family.
And the suspect names?
That hasn't been released yet as well. The Cobb County Police Department will be handling that portion of the investigation.
You said the deputies were young. Were they relatively new to your department? Had they been there for a while?
Well, everybody's younger than me because of my age. Let me clarify. That's why I made that statement. But they've both been here substantially over 5 years.
Hey, Sheriff, can you talk a little bit more about the apprehension of the two suspects? I know it was a lone standoff. What was that like getting them into custody tonight?
Well, from my understanding, it was a lone standoff with those, but they came out peacefully, those two that was in custody. Nothing that I was been told up to this point led me to believe there was any infractions or altercation with them during that arresting period.
Okay. Did they finally give in peacefully to law enforcement officers?
Yes.
Sheriff, what time did this occur?
I don't have the exact time frame to give you right now. I'm sorry.
Can you provide any details about the description of the shooting in terms of did they just knock on the door and they were ambushed immediately, or?
Well, from what I can tell you at this point is they was ambushed as they got out of the cars and they was talking with the suspect, and that's when shots were fired.
Sheriff, can we talk a little bit, looking around the room, a big show of support, but you can just kind of feel the heavy hearts. What is going through your mind, and what do you tell the other officers and deputies under you tonight?
That's a good question. You know, what words can you say when you lose your family member? And those words don't come easy, but just speaking straight from the heart, I would just say, just pray for us because we need it. Our hearts are broken here in Cobb County. Our hearts are definitely broken. And it's going to take some prayers to help us get back to where we need to be. And because of the people you see behind me today, I think we'll be able to overcome that, but it's not going to be an easy road. So we have a lot of support, as you can see, on the scene this evening with the several agencies that responded, as well as fellow sheriffs behind me as well. Chief of Police was on the scene as well. So we had a tremendous amount of law enforcement support there. The governor even called this evening immediately and asked, what can I do to help you and provide state resources? So we was receiving, I like to say, help calls from all over the state asking what can they do to help us during this time. So again, it is a very difficult time for us. And I think when one agency loses someone, we all lose someone. And I think every sheriff and every director and every chief can attest to that. When this tragedy hurts our community, it hurts their community as well.
Sheriff, these two suspects, are they adults or juveniles?
Be honest with you, I don't have the information. I just know they're in custody now, currently being interviewed by Cobb County Police. I'm not sure the ages of the two suspects.
And did they reside at that address?
That I don't know as well. Okay. We're still doing an investigation to determine, but based on we're going to the warrant, we assume one of them did live there at that property.
Do we know, were they related?
I don't have the information currently.
Are these your first line of duty deaths since you've been sheriff? And how long has it been since the Cobb County Sheriff's Office had a deputy killed in line of duty?
This is my first line of duty death since I've been in office, a little over 18 months. And we haven't had one from a shooting incident. Never had a car accident.
Was it your agency that was involved? Was it the Cobb County Sheriff's Department that was able to negotiate them coming out? Or was it one of the other agencies?
It was my cooperation with the Cobb County Police Department. So they was doing, since they was a lead agency on the investigation and that portion of the incident.
During the standoff, was there anyone else in the house, like any hostages or anything, or was it just those two suspects?
Not to my knowledge, no, ma'am.
Take a couple more questions.
Do you have an exact address?
Ma'am?
Go ahead, it's a quick question.
It was just the address of the home that they were barricaded in.
I don't have it right in front of me. I do have it, but yes, we do have the address where that incident occurred, yes.
Just a quick clarification on the ambush. Were they out getting ready to enter or serve the warrant, or had they already engaged with some suspects and then they were ambushed?
From my understanding, the deputies have made an attempt at the home, knocked on the door, rang the doorbell. No one came to the house. As they were going back to the car, a vehicle drove up, which they assumed was a suspect who lived there. And as they got back out of the car, as he got in his car, shots were fired.
So this was someone who wasn't even inside the home? They drove
one of the
in a separate
suspects,
vehicle.
yes.
One of the suspects were in a separate vehicle.
Was it just one person who fired your shot?
I'm not sure. I can't answer that completely right now. It's still an investigation.
Do you know if the deputies returned fire at all?
I can't answer that neither at the point.
Last question.
Were they able to call for help?
Yes. They put out a help call, Signal 63, and that's why we had so many agencies, officers respond to the location. Again, thank y'all for coming out this evening. I know it's late in the morning, but this information needs to be put out. We're working with the families, trying to comfort them during this time frame, as well as comfort my officers and deputies that help out this evening. Again, it is a trying time for us here at Cobb County Sheriff's Office. Please pray for our agency and all deputies and officers across the United States. We need to do something, ladies and gentlemen, about this guns on the street. So whatever we can do to prevent gun violence, as you can see, is affecting us here in Cobb, is affecting everyone across the United States of America. We definitely need to do something regarding that. So thank you for coming out this morning, and we'll have more information as we receive it to report to you at a later date. Thank you.
And if you are just joining us tonight on 11 Alive, we are continuing to follow that breaking news out of Cobb County. 2 sheriff's deputies killed in the line of duty while serving a warrant. We are just getting some brand new information from the sheriff of Cobb County. So we want to walk you through some of the information that we are just getting. And the sheriff describing these 2 deputies as young, bright deputies, saying they had been with the department for 5 years plus, serving with dignity and honor. He did begin with a moment of silence there as well, and listed off some of the agencies that have been supporting them. You saw some of those law enforcement figureheads behind them. There were sheriff's deputies, there were sheriffs and police chiefs that had traveled to Cobb County to support. But getting back to those deputies, what we're told tonight from the sheriff is that those deputies were serving that warrant. They said that the warrant was for a failure to appear for a theft by deception. And when they were attempting to serve that warrant, it sounds like the sheriff is saying that they went to the house, rang the doorbell, there was no answer, and they were heading back to the car when another vehicle came up, and that is when those deputies were shot. And he described it as an ambush.
Yeah, it was an ambush. And you know what was really striking here before we get to Cody Alcorn, he's out there at the scene, is that it was a failure to appear. Theft by deception. It doesn't sound like it was a felony. Doesn't sound like it was anything that's serious. And to take the life of 2 young officers, he says those 2 officers have been on the agency with the department or with the office for more than 5 years. And the 2 of them, they lost 2 wives. They both have 2 wives, and those 2 wives have lost their 2 husbands.
And we want to talk about a little bit the suspects, because they are saying that they are now in custody. They are being questioned by the Cobb County Police Department. The sheriff couldn't say if they lived in that particular home where where that warrant was being served, or if the 2 people are related. That information will come out later. But again, they are not releasing the names of the deputies who were killed tonight. They say they are working to notify the full family, and they're also not releasing the name of the suspects at this point. But the sheriff's saying that their hearts are broken, in Cobb County, and that they need prayers. Also saying that they received a call from Governor Kemp offering help as well.
Yeah, that's right. Let's get to Cody Alcorn. He's live out there at the scene. And Cody, you have been out there since around 8 o'clock right now. What are you seeing? We're looking at some of the video. We can see the law enforcement. They're really heavy-hearted right now. What are you learning tonight?
What we do know is that this was senseless. What we just learned from the sheriff, all of this started over a failure to appear warrant. People are furious tonight in this community that these 2 suspects took it upon themselves to ambush these 2 deputies. And now, as you mentioned, 2 wives tonight will become widows. And this department has lost 2 deputies. You heard the sheriff saying it's his first in 18 months since taking office, and really the first officer shot here in the county. They've had others killed in car crashes. It's heartbreaking. What I'm being told from neighbors is that they broke out all of these windows. They brought in a Bearcat. What I'm being told, we have not been able to confirm this, but neighbors tell me that when the mother got out, she was not helping law enforcement with the layout of this large home. That's why they had to bring in so much reinforcement, because they had nothing to work with. They knew these 2 suspects already ambushed 2 of their deputies. They knew they'd likely try to do it again, so they weren't taking any chances. And you heard the sheriff just mention they had resources from all over the state of Georgia. Fortunately, tonight, those 2 suspects taken into custody without any more loss of life, being questioned right now. But I think it all goes back to what the sheriff said. This was over a failure to appear. These individuals, apparently it was 1 warrant, so it was only for 1 of these suspects, would have went to jail tonight, served a little time, and gotten out probably by tomorrow on this warrant. Now they're looking at spending the rest of their lives behind bars, or maybe in the death penalty if the DA goes after that in the coming days and weeks. We also talked to the landscaper of this home, who confirmed to us that it was a mother and 2 grown kids who lived at this home. So it matches what we are hearing as far as these 2 suspects. It appears they're brothers. I know the sheriff didn't confirm that, but that's coming from the landscaper, who says he's interacted with these 2 individuals. He said they're nice. They brought him water. They've talked to him. No indication they would become these type of individuals that the sheriff described, who took the lives of his 2 deputies here. It's heartbreaking for this entire agency. You heard the sheriff mention the governor on the phone with him tonight, law enforcement across the state reaching out as well. And now 2 women will have to bury their husbands in the coming days. It's just unfathomable here tonight. They woke up just like any other day. These deputies came to do their job, and they were simply serving a warrant. And you saw what the sheriff said. This is what we talked about earlier, Ron and Jennifer, just describing from neighbors. We thought it might have been an ambush because these deputies go through training. They don't just walk up on scenes unprepared. And tonight, all that training, all that preparedness was no match for what they met here on this street, Fenwick Drive, in the Hampton Glen community. So I will tell you, our hearts are with this family, with these deputies. Prayers are with them. It's going to be a long process to recover from this. Sometimes you see agencies lose one, but tonight this agency lost 2 deputies in a matter of seconds here in Marietta.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, our thoughts and prayers are with those 2 wives, with their family members, and those that they're probably reaching out across the country to let them know what happened for those 2 young officers who lost their lives. Such a tragic, horrible situation. Thanks a lot. We appreciate that, Cody. Also, thank you as well. Hope Ford out there at the scene, too.
And we'll, of course, continue to follow this breaking news story as the days and weeks come ahead and we learn new information. The sheriff saying that they do want to work this and wait and be respectful of the family during this process. So we will, of course, get more details from them in the next few days and hours as well. But we want to thank you so much for being with us for 11 Alive. We will continue to keep you updated on 11alive.com and inside our 11 Alive news app. We'll also have the very latest for you this morning on the 11 Alive Morning News starting at 4:30.